Strike one.
Are we ready to go?
Ready.
Okay, so with that, take 2 on Welcome to After the Hype. With me, as always, Bryan and John and Ryan.
Hello.
Today we have first-time special guest Jeff on.
Hey.
And Trey.
Hello.
Who's phoning in from Chicago, which will explain that voice. As I just said a second ago, but we failed on that recording.
Yeah, this one was way better.
It was a little bit more streamlined, so I'll give you that
And now
much.
we've called attention to this mysterious beginning that we never did.
Yeah, I'm going to keep calling attention to the whole episode.
Yeah. We missed so much. It's a metaphor for me watching this and not any of the other ones.
Yeah, I missed so much.
Interesting. All right.
But yeah, so we are recording Trey a little bit differently this time, so hopefully he will sound better than all the other times we recorded somebody from a different city. Okay, so let's get started with a where have you been doing? I can go first.
Please.
I saw, it was a few weeks ago now, but I didn't bring it up last week and I meant to. The movie It Follows, which is a horror film by some guy, I don't remember his name, but it's like super low budget, like just mostly concept over story or anything like that. But the concept is really cool. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to say too much about it because I went into it completely blind. I hadn't seen the trailer. I didn't know fucking anything about it. And then people said that it was really cool and it had gross nudity in it.
Gross nudity.
Gross nudity, and that came from my 12-year-old cousin. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, if this made a 12-year-old... Because when I was fucking like 12 and I saw The Shining, I'm like, good enough. But so this one had to be pretty gross. And I guess it is. Or maybe he just has higher standards than I did. But other than that, like the movie is... I thought it was really, really well done. It does suffer a little bit from not following its own rules. Like it kind of sets up like
So
horror
it
movie
doesn't
rules.
follow?
Fair enough.
That's the review. It follows, does not follow.
Sorry.
Still see it, though.
I'm so sorry.
But no, I would say if you haven't seen it yet, definitely give it a shot because it really kind of creeped me out. And they do one thing that I thought not impossible but very difficult to do in horror movies, where they make most of the scary scenes take place during the day, which is I think that deserves some credit because most horror movies can't pull that off. That's it for me though.
I'll go next. I've been reading a new comic book. Just came out a few weeks ago, the first issue on DC Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover. It's pretty good. It's a crossover. I think IDW's involved. They're the writers of TMNT, and it does a great job of capturing, the vibes of both characters, and so far it's a pretty good read.
I saw the one frame of the Turtles making a awesome, not awesome category for him, or like Venn diagram.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what Leonardo said, but he said something like he fought like a detective. I've never experienced that before. And Michelangelo's like standing at the chalkboard. He's like, yeah, that's going in the awesome category for sure.
Yeah, that was about the Batman like pulling his punches and fighting them to learn their fighting styles. It's really cool. I think they do a good job of capturing the Turtles and it is set in Gotham City. So the Turtles and Splinter and Shredder are there for some currently unknown reason.
Some like TMNT conference.
Yeah, probably.
It's a convention.
They just traveled. They floated down the sewer and got there.
Oh shit, we're in the wrong city.
Splinter, you should have asked for directions. Sorry, folks. I'll go next. Speaking of sorry.
It's like the worst Splinter I've ever heard.
It is.
Was that your Christian Bale's Batman?
See, it's crossover. It could be both. It's, it's whatever you want it to be. The thing I want to talk about is a small little app called You Must Build a Boat. It is a game, and imagine if a endless runner, a matching tile game, and a puzzler kind of had this three-way and created this offspring that was severely addicting. Well, also added an RPG element. They came into the mix a little bit later in the evening and got it on too. So it's basically an endless runner puzzle matching RPG, and it's super fun. It's more fun than it has any right to be. Very simple graphics. You slide like get 3 swords in a row and it attacks. Like all your moves are based off of the tiles you match. So if you slide some shields together, you build your defense. There's a Bryan or Brawn icon, and that gives you more currency to work with for like upgrading your boat. And so yeah,
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really fun, and it gets actually really difficult, and the curve is easy to pick up. So over the holiday break, I've played that the whole time.
Very cool.
And I didn't even finish it. That's like the game is long. I think you can spend about 4 or 5 hours on it.
I might as well also bring up a game I've been playing called Elite Dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Which is basically a space simulator.
Yep, it is.
It's-
It's a flight simulator for sure.
It's a flight simulator in space, basically. It's sort of released, but sort of early access. So there's like some things to do, and the rest is kind of empty. It's not very directed.
See this corner of the game? Imagine that being there.
right.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing is that it takes place in the Milky Way galaxy, like a 1-to-1 Milky Way galaxy, where you could literally fly anywhere, which is pretty amazing. You can bounty hunt and shoot things and space truck.
What's this called?
Elite Dangerous.
Huh.
Check
tell
it
you-
out. It's on Steam and PS4 or Xbox, one of the consoles.
Well, I have
I can't
both.
remember.
I'll be good.
Yeah, there you go.
I went over to my buddy's house to try it out once. He'd had it for years now. He jumped on way early access, and he also jumped on early access for the Oculus Rift. So
Oh, I heard that's awesome.
He then invested like a couple $100 into the flight simulator joystick and throttle. So
Yep.
I sat there with an Oculus Rift and parked a spaceship with a real joystick, and it was really amazing.
So
it was
what-
like the most fun 10 minutes I've ever spent.
Right. So with the Oculus, you can look around, and you're
Yep.
looking around the cockpit,
Yep.
and
You
it's,
can like see your hand on the controls. You can see the
Yes.
buttons you need to push. Yeah.
So as soon as I started playing, I'm like, I have to buy a joystick and a
Yeah,
throttle for this
you
game.
do.
It's too cool to not do that.
way better. Even
Yeah.
I would say the flight simulator controller is more important than the Oculus for playing this game.
I would tend to agree as well. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm playing with mouse and keyboard currently, but it would definitely benefit.
You hear that, Oculus? You got to step it up.
Or you could get a track IR headset. I've been looking into all the peripherals now. So apparently you wear it on your head, and there's something on the top of your monitor, and you move your head around, and it
Self,
tracks
say
where it's
goodbye to
going.
money.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And the game wasn't even that expensive.
So Trey, before you give your where have you been doing, do you want to plug your podcast really quick?
Yeah, sure. I have two podcasts actually. I have a podcast called Nintendo Main, and both of the podcasts are under that name. You can find it on iTunes. And it's a buddy of mine. We talk about Nintendo stuff mostly. Mostly been talking about Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is like this big 100+ hour game that just came out for Wii U in December last year.
I've heard good things. I've not played it.
It's great. It's excellent. I've been playing the shit out of it. That was one of my things that I would say for what I do, because that's all you really can do when you have that game. But yeah, and also I have a second podcast with my girlfriend called The Honey Darling Show, where we just talk about random movies and whatnot.
Do you call yourselves Honey and Darling throughout the entire episode?
No, we don't do it at all. It was named after the
I'm
Honey
listening to it.
shop from Legend of Zelda. Was what we were going for.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
And what was the Nintendo name again? I didn't quite catch it through the phone.
Nintendo Main.
Mimain?
Yeah,
Cool.
like domain, but
Yeah.
in Nintendo.
Right on.
Oh,
Domain.
that
That's
took me
clever.
way too long.
Yeah.
I've known the name of this thing for a few days now, and I still have never caught on to that.
I'm instantly a fan. Subscribe
Yeah,
right now.
absolutely.
Any pun like that is a winner in my book.
I'm glad we clarified that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a Facebook page that I have. I don't have like a Twitter or anything like that.
All right,
Uh-oh.
we'll link it on our After the Hype page so
Right
people
on.
can find it that way too.
Yeah, sure. And yeah.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Whatever you want.
Sounds good.
I don't need your buzz, guys.
I haven't, I don't know what you guys are doing for Star Wars yet, but I think our Honey Darling episode was pretty amazing.
We haven't done a Star Wars. We'll do a Star Wars episode later.
Like, it's still during the hype for Star Wars. Too soon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta wait till everybody realizes it's not good.
Unlike Brian's
Yeah.
pick, we do have to follow our rules.
Or we have to wait till
yes,
everyone
good point.
realizes it is good. What do you mean?
Or everyone realizes that parts are good and parts are bad.
What? No. No middle road.
Only absolutes.
Only Sith dealing absolutes.
I guess I'm a fucking Sith then, motherfucker.
Language, Darth. Darth swears a lot.
Sorry.
I just hope they release like a less crying version. They did Kylo Ren. Back on the serious track. Yeah, so that's my podcast. As far as what I watched Room last night. Have you seen that yet?
I was actually going to go see it last night, and then I didn't.
You should see it if you haven't. It's I thought it was like probably one of the most intriguing movies I've seen so far. I mean, I saw The Revenant and I thought that was good too, but this one's just a little bit more. I don't know. It's very intense.
Awesome.
Is Brie Larson
I don't-
deserving all their credit she's getting?
Yeah, she's great. I think that kid is fucking phenomenal though. Like that, her son
Oh,
should have
cool.
been nominated for something. Like he was insane.
I've loved Brie Larson since Short Term 12, and I should probably go see this.
Yeah, she was. I don't know if you guys remember, but she was Abed's girlfriend for like 3 episodes in Community.
Oh, that's right. I always kind of forget about that.
Yeah.
It was like the one thing that I knew her from. But but yeah, it was good. I mean it's intense and it's emotional and all that. But I thought it was, from all the Oscar stuff that I've seen, I liked it.
I really want to see it. This last night, time got away from me.
I recommend it if you want to just go watch the fucked up shit. It's
Right
good
on.
thing to watch.
All right, so we're going to move into today's episode, which is on The Furious 7. Okay, so for the numbers for today, this movie cost a whopping $190 million, which I think is a shitload of money that isn't Star Wars to get that amount of money for a Part 7.
Yeah.
Although they made their money back and then some with $1.5 billion take. It made so much money that even Star Wars won't beat it in China. So the review for today comes from Metacritic, as usual. We're giving it the solid 0 out of 10 try.
Oh my god.
This one comes from Stratanova, or Stratovana 266. Wrote this on June 8th.
So he's not the first. Stratanova.
Yeah, there's a lot of Stratanovas, or Stratovana. I can't pronounce it.
Stratovana.
Oh,
obviously.
that actually looks better. Stratovana?
Stratovana,
I don't know.
that pharmaceutical drug.
That
Yeah,
actually looks
exactly.
pretty close. Stratovana.
That's
That's weird. Anyhow, so his review or her review. Let's not be sexist on our podcast.
Yeah, damn it.
Ultimate nonsense. A movie that does nothing but hurt ears, waste valuable time, and make you sick. Even more unreal than what a child's idea of a fictional superhero movie might be. 0 out of 10.
Oh man, I would call it exactly the ideal of what a child thinks a superhero movie should be.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a lot
instead of
So we
makes
agree with
me
his review?
sick,
That's
it makes
weird.
me go sick.
right. Maybe that's what he meant.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
doesn't understand what sick means.
That is a possibility. 'Cause, I mean,
Maybe
any
the
movie
review-
where a dude destroys an entire parking structure with a good stomp.
I just
after the
threw
rocket.
up, straight up threw up during
See,
this.
maybe
I was barfing all over the place.
have we considered that the review system might be like golf and that 0 is actually really amazing?
Ah.
Oh, see, he got
So
a
he's
perfect
got like
score.
he's got a tick for each thing that's bad about it, and so like
Yeah,
there's
this
no
guy's-
ticks.
So Stratanova 266 is just a big golf fanatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golf and Furious 7. It's all he
Recommended
loves.
by 255 out of the 266 Stratanovas, Furious 7.
A Stratovana in golf is when you score 0 strokes. Right?
Yes. Okay, so Jeff here gets to do our breakdown for today.
Oh my god.
I did warn him, so he had time to prepare.
It's less fun that way.
I did think about it. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well-
So, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say go.
Oh, I have 30 seconds starting now.
You have 27 seconds starting now.
Okay. So, Jason Statham wants revenge on his brother. Maybe. Okay. So
for his
then
brother.
there's some car driver guys, and they want to get revenge on The Rock now. And then they need to steal some high-tech equipment, and then they have to hack a rich guy, then they get hacked, and then they have to hack something else again, and then a parking structure blows up and The Rock comes back and there's cars.
Time's up.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
I mean, you stopped talking in 30 seconds. That's true. But you kind of had the plot all over the place. So I'm going to give you a solid, 5 out of 10.
That's very fair.
Five
You did
mistakes.
okay. So I'm not going to make fun of you, but I'm going to let people know you didn't do that good.
I will say I feel like I hit most of the main plot points.
You just said hacking
No.
20 times in a row.
Wait,
well-
hacking parking structure.
He said revenge twice, and the tagline is revenge hits home, so I think nailed it.
There's so much revenge in the movie.
Yeah.
Revenge.
Did you say blow up
whoever's-
house? Because the blow up house
I
is a
did
big
miss
deal.
the blowing house,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's a
blowing
scene, not a
house.
plot
And you
point,
did miss
you know?
the ultimate
Oh.
Paul Walker retires. That's huge.
But
What's
that's
the
not
difference
explicit
between dying
either.
and retiring?
That's implied.
Okay, so I think the best place to start with this movie, for fans, was the switch of the directors, because I think that's actually that really shaped how the movie turned out. So the past from, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were all directed by Justin Lin.
3? He did 3?
He did 3.
Okay, get him out of here.
So anyhow, so I think by having James Wan in this really kind of changed things up, because I mean the one thing that Justin Lin had always kind of done, and I think done well, was keep the family aspect of the movie like really like a through line. So you always kind of felt like these people like really needed each other to get everything done. And I think that's one thing that Justin Lin kind of just went, it's understood at this point, and he didn't really care anymore.
I was annoyed by it, man. I think that's when I would get with my friends and talk about Fast Five or whatever movie we were seeing. It would be like, oh, family. That's all they talk about, family, bro. You're my bro, family. And it got annoying. So I'm totally on board with James Wan getting rid of it.
I don't think it was a bad idea. I just think that, excuse me, I think that it was that he kind of left it out a little too much for it to, he left it out enough like inorganically so that it'd have to like come up like very forced. So like when Justin Lin would do it, it kind of felt like it's just part of the film. Whereas like, oh yeah, they're family. That's just
the big scene is where Diesel's giving Paul Walker the talk about, it's okay to settle down. It's okay. That kind of came out of nowhere, and it was like, well, this took me out because it's jarring. But maybe if the other director had done it, it would have been a little bit more like, hey, he's struggling. Like it did seem like, oh, here's the family time.
Yeah, so that's
time.
more what I mean. So like when James Wan had to do it, he really had to shove in that family stuff because he knows it's required.
Yeah.
Whereas like Justin Lin would make it more organic, like part of the film. But I think James Wan did a good job, especially somebody who's really never done an action movie before, is just in like horror films. And he's done okay with horror films. I really liked The Conjuring.
But for someone who hasn't done those types of movies, he jumped in and did okay.
I thought so too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why Justin Lin recommended him. Like that was his like, the next one should be done by this guy, and they went, okay, we'll trust you. And I think he stepped up to the plate and did a pretty good job. I'm looking forward to, I forget his name. I know he has the same name twice. The guy who did Straight Outta Compton, who's doing the next one. I'm looking forward to his take on it because I really like the Italian Job, which he had done. So it'll be kind of cool to see a completely fresh take and not anything to do with Justin Lin. But at the same time, it's kind of like,
are they recasting the movie yet? I mean, obviously Vin Diesel's on board.
No, Vin Diesel, Ludacris, Tyrese, and Michelle Rodriguez are all confirmed, and then that's it.
That's not too bad, I guess.
They might bring back Kurt Russell, and they might bring back, I forget her name, the girl from Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which I'd be fine with.
Natalie Emanuel.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Like
Yeah.
that.
I thought she did good. I thought she actually kind of fit into the cast really well.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised. Like a lot of the Game of Thrones cast kind of like jump off and do other fantasy. So she did a really good job jumping into like just an action.
All right, well then we were talking a little bit about her, but I think that'd be an actually good entry point into the rest of this episode. Let's talk a little bit. You said her name was
Natalie Emanuel.
She was like one of the few things when I first saw the trailer for this, I went, wow, man, they're really just trying to shove as many people into this thing as they can now. I don't know how she'll work. And I thought she actually did a really good job. I thought she really just kind of, with the exception of the one scene where she had to explain like her worth by being able to like call out everybody and what their jobs are, although it was a funny scene, it was kind of that was the only part of her character arc that felt forced. Other than that, I thought she really just kind of stepped up to the plate.
At the same time, it was actually kind of nice having not, like, if you were coming into this movie having not seen any of them, that was a fine way to put that in.
I could see that, yeah.
She was my exposition princess.
Yeah.
I could see that, yeah. Because I mean,
that was like the point of that scene, yeah.
Totally, yeah. I mean, me who've been watching all these things many times for a long time now, go, oh, I don't care about this shit. But yeah, I guess if I hadn't seen it,
because Tyrese's character, you forget, if you've not seen it, you wouldn't know that he's necessarily kind of more the silly guy,
right?
And I have seen the second movie, so I know what he's all about, but kind of forgot. So it was kind of a nice, like, I know what his role is going to be coming, like, in the rest of the movie. He's going to be that doof.
I mean, his character in like the rest of the movies and 2 are basically 2 completely different characters played by the same actor.
Oh,
yeah. If you go back to like number 2, it's just not even the same character at all. Like it's completely written different. Everything about it's different. But they just wanted Tyrese back in the movie because he's Tyrese.
But it does help with when he has his chance to shine, and then when everyone's like, oh, he's doing this again, it's like, well, okay, yeah, you did set it up. So it was appreciated as someone who's not seen all of them.
What was interesting was up until then, I remember thinking he hasn't really said anything funny or been foolish, really.
Yeah.
I mean, he had his whole sequence about wanting to be in charge. Like, he's the leader now. He did have that.
That's true. So that was like his one like funny moment. But
until they get to Abu Dhabi,
that's when he shines. Yeah, for sure.
Shines bright like a diamond.
That was the quote.
But I thought they did a good job, kind of giving both him and Ludacris their moments to shine without having them try to overtake the film. Because that's a problem if you go back to like 5, where it felt like it wanted to be basically like the Italian Job, and they had to get everybody their fair share. And it got a little muddled. Whereas this one, I feel like they really kind of kept it to like the main 2, and then everyone else just kind of got their moments. So people like Tyrese and Ludacris, I thought they did a good job just kind of stepping in when they had to.
It was nice that the side characters got their chance to kind of play in the playground, but it wasn't at the detriment of anything. Like, they got their time to shine, but it wasn't really like no one trying to spotlight on it. Look at these side characters. Look at all their like, oh, now it's time for the girl fight. Now it's time for the hacking thing. It's like it felt natural.
Yeah.
Like when they were needed, they kind of came in. And if you're watching these movies, like that's the flow of it. You don't need to be like, hey, we need someone to hack this. Ludacris like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Or like he just jumps in, and he's not a pushover either. He takes down the one guy. Like everything was kind of just matter of fact, which I think was to the benefit.
I actually kind of missed when the series was about the family. I think every movie they added another character, and it's getting bogged down. I like it with Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, and Jordana Brewster.
It's kind of too bad because I do agree. I kind of like the family aspect of it, but at the same time, like I think Tyrese and Ludacris are enough fun that I can kind of forgive it. And I liked Nathalie. I already forgot her last name.
Emmanuel,
thank you.
What's her character's name? Just use
Ramsey.
Yeah, I liked Ramsey enough where like I like the characters enough to where it doesn't bother me. But at the same time, I agree. I would be kind of nice to go back to the family, but we're not going to get that anymore because no more Paul Walker.
Right. I mean, I think you kind of keep talking about the Italian Job, and it is they're trying to make Fast and the Furious the Italian Job.
Well, they made that. It's
Yeah.
called Fast 5.
Yeah, for several movies now they've been doing that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about more characters so we talk about what everyone actually watches these movies for, which is the action sequences. I think this was the only movie out of the entire series since they've gotten The Rock that actually underused him. And I'm not sure if it's because he was too busy doing San Andreas or whatnot, but he was really like, I think he was in and out of this movie in like 3 weeks maybe.
Yeah,
I thought that's all they needed him for. He delivered so many good lines.
He did. I mean, he's just
he
basically...
he made up for it by being the
Rock.
most fun part of that movie, where it's like, oh, he's here, he's gonna be doing something cool. He just grabbed a minigun. He just drove an ambulance onto a drone. Okay, you have done what you needed to do in this movie.
I really can't. The shot of him just picking up the minigun and just walking off.
Yeah.
That is pretty
that
good.
was
If there was
amazing.
one person who was made for the Terminator role that wasn't Arnold, it would be The Rock.
Yeah.
I think it would have been kind of fun if that shot didn't pay off in any way. That was just like him walking into the sunset to like be an action hero in some other movie. He's like, I have a minigun now. Here I go.
That should have been the end after the cars diverge, and then it fades to this lonely road, and you see like The Rock walking down with his minigun. Is like, where am I going?
Or like after the end of the credits, you just see him kick a door in and start shooting up some random place.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I almost think it would be better if he just walked on to the end of the whole action sequence done. He shows up with a minigun. This thing's really heavy. Am I late?
How about the scene where he flexes his muscle and breaks himself out of a cast? That is probably my favorite scene. In the
There
whole
was
movie.
genuine laughter in my household.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, I'd seen that clip in the trailer, so I knew it was coming, and I was like, wait, is this the clip? This is the clip, and it is just as funny in context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love the daddy's got to go to work. Smash! It's so good.
He didn't. The only thing he didn't do is say like, "I gotta go. My city needs saving." Like
Yeah.
that was implied, but
I will say that as far as him being underused or overused, probably one less character for someone just coming into the series to worry about over
Yeah.
the course of the movie was
yeah.
probably a good thing.
I could see that.
He got his movie.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Who else?
All right.
Michelle
I mean, we
Rodriguez.
talked enough about Paul Walker and Vin Diesel. They did the same thing they do in every Fast and the Furious movie.
They did. I mean, there's really nothing else you can say about them other than that I think they did without harping on the whole episode, I thought they did a very fitting and touching send-off for Paul Walker in this.
You know, I did
Yeah.
too, and I actually thought it
And
worked.
we'll get there, but that is actually my favorite part of this movie.
Well, I think we should just get it out of the way.
Get it out of the way?
Let's do it. Yeah, because I mean that sounds tasteless, and I don't mean it to, but I think they did a very it was very tasteful. It wasn't like over the top or cheesy, and it actually was pretty touching. Like,
As someone with no connection to the series, I've watched a couple of them. I was touched. It was a little bit of tear going on.
With that song that they took, and
Yeah.
it's just all of it together. I think they did a really, really good job.
And the filmmaking serviced the tribute as well. They're on the beach on one side. They can't cross the frame.
Right.
I saw that. I was like, this is great filmmaking right here.
yeah, surprisingly well done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it worked really well using his brothers as stunt doubles, basically.
Did we say explicitly why this is important? That Paul Paul Walker died during the making of the movie.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure people
I think
understand.
people know that at this point,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's worth noting.
Yeah, I mean,
What
they
happens
filmed.
if someone listens to this 10 years in the future?
That's true,
and they,
yes.
you know?
Then they've found some dark corner of the internet and they need to turn back
They
now.
sure did. And congratulations, future internet user.
The internet still exists.
They had shot pretty much all the action sequences with him, and then it was some of the drama sequence they hadn't shot yet.
Oh,
so,
that's
okay.
so that's why he's still able to be in most of it. But why they had to shoot things like really awkwardly of like Vin Diesel and Jordana Brewster like walking around going, I think he's gonna retire.
Yeah.
It's like,
Can we talk just for a second? I want to bring up other movies where actors have died in the filming of. The only two I can think of are The Crow and then the one with Heath Ledger. The
Dark Knight?
No.
no.
He lived through that
the
one.
but the-
Imaginarium of Dr.
Imaginarium.
Parnassus.
Yeah. And I thought that movie was handled really well, and that was even more of a meta nod to we know the actor died and we have to finish
Right.
this movie.
They made it an art choice.
Do they ever kill a character off when their actor dies? Have they done that in a film? I
The,
love
that
the
beard.
Oracle in the Matrix series. She also died.
She died?
The one in the
Yeah,
first. yeah.
Oh wow! I thought they just
And they switched. They
recast
swapped her out. Yeah.
But they made that a story point as well, where they're like,
Yeah.
Code
whatever
changes.
form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think of a film because would it have been distasteful to just actually kill Bryan?
I think because
I think that was the
because
obvious
the
choice.
actor. No, I think it was a filmmaker choice because he died in a car accident. To kill him in a car accident in the movie, I think is way too on the
Well,
nose. And
I meant like people making that choice to kill the character off is the obvious choice. Daring to kind of keep him alive, give him a good send off is
Yeah.
something we needed.
I
And
just
something
think,
where everything was about people dying, and like cars, like you said,
Yeah.
there's a sensitivity to it, and
Yeah.
it's
he
definitely
deserved it.
sensitive.
Yeah.
But I think with this film, by the goddamn 7th movie in the franchise, would really benefit from one of the main characters actually dying and the other characters being motivated by it.
Well, they did that with Han.
Yeah,
Han Solo?
no one cared about him.
Is that his real name?
I mean, the fans did.
No,
The fans
yeah.
were very upset that, like, when he came back
Yeah.
in 4, fans were like, "Oh, fucking sweet, we get Han back," and then he's there for 4, 5, and 6, and then they killed him and Gal Gadot
Right.
in 6, so that was a big deal. But anyhow, so we should move on to I think Jason Statham. We can talk Michelle Rodriguez, but I think she played the same character she has in everything else, just like we did with Vin Diesel and
Yeah, she
Paul
played
Walker.
the same character she plays in every movie she's ever been in.
yeah.
Just Michelle Rodriguez.
I will say that her
Actually,
entire
she's much
storyline
nicer in real life.
felt shoehorned in. All the
Her storyline?
memory
Yeah.
loss.
Well, I
I
think it
agree.
was because they were filling in storyline because of Paul Walker.
There you
Her
go.
memory loss thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We didn't actually get Trey a chance. Did you have anything to say about Paul Walker, Trey?
Well, I didn't notice any sort of his brothers being in it or anything like that, like through the normal movie.
Yeah,
I thought that he lasted through most of it, so I couldn't really tell that anything changed or there was not helpful or whatever.
it's really one of those
that.
things. If you're not looking for it, you won't see it.
On the subject of you saying that Vin Diesel was the same as every movie, has he ever destroyed a parking garage in other movies, or is that just this one? Like with his barefoot, like when he just slams down.
Touche.
on the building?
He had a shoe on. You can't say he's barefoot.
I mean, that's.
Oh,
I mean,
he didn't have like a cybernetic enhancement, is what I mean.
No.
No.
it was a steel toe.
Yeah, it was a really well-made boot.
Yeah.
It was a Timberland.
Yeah.
I mean, was he as superpowered in the last movies?
Oh yeah, he's been pretty superpowered since 5.
I call it action power. It's not. He doesn't have any superpowers. He's just action star
Yeah,
powers.
he
and
has like
the more quippy his lines are, the more power he has.
Yeah,
you know?
like-
I mean, you guys admit that it is like a superhero movie. I think that I don't know. I think that movies like the Avengers probably have more rules to real life than this movie does.
Yeah,
totally
I
true.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Trey, you haven't seen 6, but if you're to watch 6, I mean, there's a part where he quite literally flies.
Oh yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Like, if you haven't seen 6, I'd highly recommend everyone go watch 6. If you want to see Vin Diesel fly through the air, catch a woman out of midair, and then crash land on a car so that they're totally safe. That's the movie to
there-
watch.
Wow.
Isn't there a part in this one when they're in one of the different countries, but doesn't one of the guys get a car dropped on him at some point? And he lives through it. I remember there was some big fight where I was sure that somebody died.
Yeah, well,
Well,
there's
here, what
Vin
a guy,
Diesel jumps a car at a helicopter and lands upside down after rolling off the top of the parking garage that just crumbled, and he lives.
There's that, and then
And
they
then
jump between 2 buildings. We're going to get into the action sequences. Don't worry.
Okay.
Don't worry. We're
Cannot
getting
wait.
there. But let's talk a little bit about Jason Statham, because he was like the big get for this movie. It's like, well, part 7, here we go. We need a solid action hero. We're going Jason Statham.
Teasing him at the end of 6 was my favorite part about this whole franchise.
That was so
really?
awesome. I was so excited for that.
Like the way they actually connected 2 movies. They put an actor in a movie who literally like wasn't in the rest of the movie, but he's showed up at the end just to tease the 7th movies. Like they made commitments, like, oh, we're gonna keep Jason Statham in. We know we can keep him in. Really, I'm just shitting on Marvel movies who can't keep a storyline through any of their films.
Well, if you haven't seen any of them, so if you watch 3, Han dies like right before the end of 3. His car flips out and then it explodes, and then they just keep moving. So at the end of 6, they cut back to that scene, and you find out that the person who rammed Han's car and then blew it up was Jason Statham.
Yeah.
And they do it really seamlessly, where it's like actually like, oh, that was really well done.
Yeah.
Where it actually kind of makes sense, because Han dying was really out of left field.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I kind of appreciate this. And then I'm really excited for the next one. And then Jason Statham shows up as like the most one-note character I think he's ever played. Revenge!
Well, and for as cool as he is, unfortunately, he brings out the plot problems of this movie. Which,
oh, man, he brings out the biggest plot hole ever.
yeah.
Which one?
All right, so we need to get the God's Eye
to
hunt down Jason Statham, because we're going to find him. There he is. And there he is. And there he is. Wherever we go, he's there. Why do we need this fucking thing?
I thought the same damn thing.
They gotta find him before he finds you.
This is
like
the-
he keeps finding them, and they're like, no, Jason Statham, go back away. We're gonna find you at the God's Eye.
Oh,
Go back home.
That pesky Statham.
I want to get my quip in before we kill you.
Yeah.
So if you show up, I can't quip.
and that's kind of why, like, I feel like you could take out a good 40 to an hour of this because of that problem that they had with him as a character, like always finding them. Well, you don't need to find the thing to find them, so chop it.
Right.
You
Well,
lose characters, but again, there's like this weird thing that was taking out of all the fun. It took me out because he was like, he's there. Do it.
For me, the only problem with it is that it implies that none of the action sequences can stand on their own without him being there, which is just totally wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I
Like,
know,
'cause
right?
All the action sequences were awesome, and then it's like, oh no, Jason Statham's here too. It's like we didn't need this at all.
Paul Walker jumps
and what
off
a
a
horrible
blunt.
timing do you have, Jason Statham? Like,
Yeah.
why do you want to go after them when they're like ramped up and ready for action? Like, go after them when they're sleeping.
Or be smart and let this like South African dude shoot missiles at them, and then when they're down, gathered around Vin Diesel at the end of the day, holding his head, there you go.
Yeah.
Easy pickings.
Or they like to have barbecues all the time. Just wait for another barbecue. Like, that's like their favorite thing to do is have a barbecue and drink Corona. So just
Incredible.
wait for that to happen and then go after the
That
next.
is bound to happen in 7 movies.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, I'm gonna blow up a package that's sitting on your porch. Come on.
Yeah, just wait for them to have a barbecue. It's going to happen soon.
Go put the bomb in a car. We know they're gonna turn on cars.
Yeah.
Right. So true.
So I mean that does undercut what was potentially a threatening villain. I like having the villains be a threat, but like they really kind of strained that in the very middle of the movie.
No,
Like,
the real villain of this whole franchise is Gravity. That's who they're fighting against the entire time.
I would say gravity or speed limits.
Yeah.
they're just sitting there like, you're gonna follow us.
How do we fly cars today?
What are you talking about? They said cars don't fly. Twice.
And then they flew.
And
I
then
love
they
that.
flew.
I love the first time that it's mentioned. Cars aren't gonna fly. I'm like, they're gonna fly them
Yeah.
Cars are going to fly.
twice.
Is there any other actors that we need to talk about?
Do you want to talk about Ronda Rousey's cameo?
No.
Good.
No.
Move on.
Let's talk action. What was the first major action sequence?
Well, there
it
was
The
an
Rock?
implied action sequence where Jason Statham is leaving the hospital, which I thought was awesome.
I almost wish they'd done like a...
If anything, it was just a hair too edited. It was a hair too kind of speed ramped because
wow.
give us a second to be like, oh, what? Like it was cool. It had the right attitude, but it was fast. We got through his
and
like
Furious.
yeah.
Also furious.
It made me furious.
Well, I felt like I got those moments as he walked out. Like first you see the two cowering nurses and you're like, why are they cowering?
Yeah.
Then he walks out of the room and you see a dead guy who's like, oh no, something happened. And then you walk out and there's just more carnage. More.
But I feel
why
like-
are there army dudes? I
But
don't. And
it does speak to though their lack of confidence in some of the action that you mentioned earlier
Yeah.
because there was a lot of like let's pepper this, let's put as much in this to make sure the action scene works when just the simple fact of revealing the destruction of a hospital and all the things he destroyed in the first 10 minutes, that's cool. That's
It's
cool.
I thought it was pretty badass, and I love the this is the really like, oh, I left one alive. Here, I'm just gonna take this grenade. You're gonna hold on to this. You're gonna go over there, and Bob's your uncle.
yeah.
It's a great way to shoot an action scene. I'm all for anything that like doesn't have to show every single bit of something. Like, just show us the aftermath, show us the damage.
Well, it's more like a breathing room thing. Like I'm a fairly patient person, sort of, and you can give me like 5 more seconds, I think.
Sure.
It kind of called back to the beginning of 6, where they the first time they meet The Rock and Gina Carano is there, and they're just talking about what horrible villain this new Shaw guy is, and they're talking, and there's just a car implanted in a building like 20 feet up. And I'm just like, I don't know how the fuck that got
How
there.
the hell did that happen?
Like, they don't ever bring it up again until later. You see like the car, like they have a flip car that just flips cars.
Oh.
But they're just like, yeah, we're in over our heads, and it's just like, oh, that's like a really cool way to set up what's coming later.
That's cool.
And this one did a good job of kind of doing the same thing, but they did a little bit different. Like that guy flipped cars and threw shit in the air. This guy just kills everyone he can see.
An entire army troops worth of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But props to killing like everything in like the first 10 minutes almost.
Yeah. It's kind of a, and I like the take care of my brother or I'm coming back for you. Like that's it's a solid threat because he will find you.
Yeah. He doesn't need God's eye or whatever.
Google Maps.
Were they
Right.
using they're using the God's eye to find the good guys, right? To find Vin and his crew.
In the end of the
Or were
movie,
they-
yeah.
That was when it was
How
most
they're-
But
useful.
that wasn't Jason Statham. That was the African people.
Yeah, but he got it for
Yeah,
them.
I was just saying, like with the God's eye, like you know how at the end of the movie they're like, well, let's go back to L.A. so we can fight on our turf. I'm just saying if they would have stayed there, it could have just came to them eventually, right?
That's the whole plot hole of the entire movie of just fucking stay where you are. He's coming to you. You don't need to find him.
They gotta fight him on his turf.
It's like the same idea of like if you get lost in a grocery store as a child, just stay where you are. Your parents will come and find you.
And said no kid ever.
I have so many questions about the ending as well. But
We'll get to the
Oh,
ending.
Lord.
But let's do a little bit more of these action sequences.
Yeah.
Let's.
If they didn't go to other countries, they couldn't have done the flying between two buildings, right?
That's
the car,
true. Yeah.
the
Right.
And that
muscle,
apparently, now that you brought it up,
Yeah.
apparently when James Wan took over the movie, and if you take over a Fast and Furious movie, the first thing you have to do is get vetted by Vin Diesel. Apparently, that's why they had so much trouble getting a director for Part 8 because nobody wanted to deal with Vin Diesel because this is his baby, and I can respect that to a certain point. Like this is basically what revamped and sustained his career, so I can understand with how much money is in there, he wants to be as control as possible. So I don't discredit him for that. But apparently, when James Wan sat down to talk to him, he just went, I want to jump a car between two buildings.
Wait, 3 buildings or 3 cars?
Well, it
They
ended
should
up with
have done
3
3
buildings.
cars.
Yeah.
3 buildings. Yeah, okay. I like the 3 buildings was sweet though.
Yeah.
God.
Well, let's talk. The action sequence is really kind of okay until it's like, oh, they're driving a car around a building, and then, boop. It's like, oh, there it goes.
That was amazing.
That was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
there's something about like that sort of like that's fucking awesome that you only get in Fast and Furious movies. And it's the main reason why I keep sitting down for them. Like, I enjoy the horrible story, but I can admit it's a horrible story that kind of goes through all of them. I sit down for these set pieces that are just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And that's really one of their best.
And I think these movies are calling out any other action movie for not just leaning in. I think that's the first thing I said
sure.
when the first 10 minutes I was like, this movie is leaning into everything it's about.
Oh, yeah.
And that made it enjoyable.
It doesn't shy away from being this corny, way over the top action series.
Action movies are by I mean, they're going to be cartoonish.
Yeah.
Like, let's get that out of the way. Let's just, accept that and move on.
And you can't get much more cartoony than jumping a car between two buildings.
Or jumping off a falling bus and then grabbing onto the spoilers of a
I
car.
love
I
that.
felt that one so much.
Oh, yeah.
I know we're not in chronological order anymore,
Yeah.
but that is
Yeah.
like one of my
Don't
biggest.
Don't forget about the cars and the parachutes.
Oh, I know.
Oh, I was bringing that
Oh,
up next.
yeah.
I was saving the best for last.
Yeah, you got to say that.
All right, well, we'll get to the
Yeah.
Paul Rudd bus thing.
Yeah. Paul Rudd.
Paul
Walker.
Walker. Also, did
Wow.
Paul Rudd do that in Ant-Man?
But yeah, I love the. Let's just fuck it. Let's just talk about the plane. That plane
Oh my
action
God.
sequence is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a movie.
Yep.
And the fact that they actually did it for the most part
Yep.
is insane. Like they actually flew a plane up there and just threw cars out of the back of it, and people with fucking cameras strapped to their heads jumped after the cars.
Yep.
That's insanity.
Wait, for real?
Yes.
Oh my god.
That was practical.
Were those
Lord.
parachutes real too?
The parachutes are real. People were not in the cars though.
Oh wow. So that's where all the money went to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah, that one action sequence cost most of the movie's budget.
Where did they land the cars?
I think they
Well,
just
that's
kind of
cool.
let
That
them
makes
fall.
That was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
But that just kind of
Amazing.
blows my mind. The fact that like, all right, we're doing this.
Yeah.
shove the car out the plane and you jump after it with a camera, or you jump in front of it and then we're going to throw a car at you. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Again, to the committing to it, that works.
And that was the one thing that people are really concerned about with James Wan taking over, was would he sustain the I want practical effects, because that was the one thing that Justin Lin was great about.
Yeah.
He's like, I want practical effects for everything. That's the one thing I'm really excited for him taking over Star Trek for, is it looks like he's kind of sticking to that as much practical as possible, which is, I hope that maintains throughout the entire film like he did with the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah. That movie's going to be like compiling code and then hitting like, render or whatever you do and just waiting to see what happens.
Yeah,
because the parts should be good, but we don't know. No one knows.
Whereas this one was I actually think this one's kind of the same way, and I think they actually did a good job with it, because I love, like I said, like the cars out of the plane, and then that bus action sequence, which is really just it's kind of the same action sequence. But all the way up through, I'm not going to say, my favorite line is at the end of that sequence, which we'll save for quotes. But that scene, I mean, it was in all the trailers I saw, because I didn't watch trailers going up to it, but like him running up the back of the bus and then leaping and then grabbing onto, like, that's just fucking awesome.
Another one I really loved is when they was it her off through the window?
Oh, that's so
moving
cool.
Cars.
Whoa.
Twice.
Yeah.
Yes. Good God. Did they
I need
plan
to
that
hack.
ahead of
Can you
time?
throw me through a window?
Yeah. Was it implied that they planned the handoff ahead of time?
Yes.
Because that was such a
Yeah.
coordinated maneuver, even for like ridiculously amazing superhero type people.
That was my favorite part of this whole franchise. I mean, it's just the insane things that everybody can do with the car. Look
Oh,
at me,
yeah.
I can pull my parking brake and spin 180. Like, that was cool. And then they do this?
Yeah.
Damn.
It's like the first couple movies are like the tutorial level before you get to this shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it's kind of funny, like, when you look at everything, it's just like, if you go back and watch the first Fast and Furious, which is basically just Point Break, it's like, wow, they really came a long way.
Yeah.
From the coolest thing they ever did was race a train,
Yeah. Jump a car over a hill.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right?
to this. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
Oh, can we go back to the Paul Walker running up the bus really
Yes.
quick?
Yeah.
Oh,
One of
please
my
do.
biggest fears is heights of all time.
Yeah.
And to me, him running up the bus in slow motion was pretty much exactly a dream I've at least had once, where you just can't move and your inevitable doom is coming and your steps are so slow and the bus is sliding under him and he's not making any progress and he's just barely getting up to the edge of the mountain. And then Michelle Rodriguez appears out of nowhere to save the day.
With a car, and somehow that saves the day.
Oh my God.
Because it's a car, of course.
He grabbed the spoiler on Michelle Rodriguez's car. Wow.
Got you had that mod done.
Yeah, right. Turns out it does serve a purpose.
Really fast before we go anywhere else, there's really not much to say about him, but we forgot to mention Kurt Russell. I love Kurt Russell. I think he does a good job in this. That's really all you can say. But
Yeah.
He's kind of a badass.
Yeah, well, it's just what Kurt Russell does.
I didn't
mean,
notice it was Kurt Russell, really, and it's fine.
Was it because he didn't have his Hateful Eight facial hair?
Yeah. He didn't have an eye patch on. So.
Yeah. Trey, what was your favorite action sequence in the movie?
Aside from the parachuting cars and the two buildings.
I mean, really, whatever you want. If those are
the
your
cars-
favorite.
Yeah. Those were the two most memorable, I thought. I mean,
Yeah. I loved the fight sequences between Vin Diesel and Jason Statham.
Oh, yeah. Like, that last fight sequence, it's
Yeah.
a blast. I mean, it's ridiculous, as is
Yeah.
the rest of the movie, but it's a blast.
Is it I was told that, like, a lot of the stuff that they do at the end there, where they're, like, hiding under semi-trucks and whatnot, that's like from the earlier movies, right?
Yeah, that's
more what they
partially.
did.
Yeah, that's why Paul Walker says, I'm going old school, and then drives
Right.
under the car.
I was like, oh, a reference to one of them that I've seen.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's
that was
mostly the
cool.
LA stuff. Yeah, it's kind of cool they did all that.
It's very Clark Griswold of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
That shouldn't have made me laugh as hard as it did.
I don't remember who it was, but I like that fight scene where they fought in that office that was like all glass walls.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, we
of
didn't
course.
talk. That's The Rock and
But
Jason
Thor's-
Statham. We didn't even talk about that one. And Thor's wife
Yeah,
is
like,
there.
where's- yeah, that's what ended him in the hospital, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Him falling out of the sky again to save Thor's wife.
He should try working in offices with, like, better walls. He'd probably be all right.
I feel like if they were one step away from having two delivery men actually bringing in plate glass windows for them to throw each other through.
Yeah. They missed
They
the
really,
shit, man.
if it was glass, it broke in that sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that sequence was really the first time you noticed that James Wan is doing this a little bit different than Justin Lin, because he did camera work differently. He shot the action sequences differently.
Yes.
The whole, like, the camera follows you, like, up and down. It's
Yeah.
cool. It's kind of standard, but I liked it. It was a fresh take.
I can't imagine what it's like working on that set, because I've been on a movie before where they had a fake glass bottle that's about to get broken over the counter, and this guy, the actor, took a sip of it, and the act of setting it back down on the bar broke it. So I imagine being on set with like all fake glass
Nothing but
walls
sugar glass
surrounding you.
everywhere. Yeah.
You'd like lean in one direction and you've broken the domino effect of all the glass in the room. That's terrifying.
About the camera work, I felt like they kind of overused. I don't know what they call it, but the camera roll.
Yeah.
So when
yeah.
you're rolling, the camera's rolling and staying with you. It looks really cool, but
Yeah.
they used it maybe like 100 times.
After-
over the
Yeah,
course of
it's
the
kind of
movie.
like one of those things where it's like J.J. Abrams. Like, all right, we get it. Flares are a thing. They're
flares.
cool. And
Yeah.
this is just James Wan has his
Flares in the mystery box.
And then if you look at James Wan's next film, The Conjuring, it's already in the trailer for The Conjuring.
Is it
It's
really?
like,
Wow.
come on.
I did think after like the 30th time I saw that, it was like, they like this camera move.
They really do.
It's acceptable. I accept it in an action film because, hey, it's a different way to see it, but 30 of them?
Yeah. Let's talk the gorilla fight at the end of the movie, because that's really the only way you can describe it. I stole that from an honest trailer, I'll be honest. But
okay.
seriously, like, that's really what it is. It is really two gorillas beating each other to death with sticks.
It's great.
And
car swords.
I was going to say, and Jeff had something he wanted to... Car sword.
Yeah, okay. So in one of the Transporter movies, that's the series that Jason Statham does, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Did.
Yeah.
There's a scene on a bus that I remember where all of a sudden nobody has weapons. He's being mobbed by like 6 guys, and all of a sudden everyone reaches down into the shadows of this bus that they're having the fight scene in, and everyone somehow pulls up a steel rod that they can now all beat each other with. So I felt that this was an homage to that scene, whether or not it was, where they have to improvise their weapons at the beginning of this scene on top of the parking garage, and Jason Statham reaches down into the shards of his car and picks up what I can only describe as a car sword.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what part of the car that came from,
You don't
but
need to know.
it was a sword and
It's
it came from his car.
It's a testament to the to just going with it and leaning in, that I didn't question for a second that there were car swords, that we could have our own car swords if we actually looked hard enough and believed.
I mean, it
I
really
agree.
was, it totally was one of those things where, like, as you sit there thinking about it, it's like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, I was just
whatever.
excited. I was like, oh, hell yeah, car swords. All right.
And then like body size wrenches, I'm in with it. Like,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
like what
so
car
much
is that
torque.
fixing other than the Starship Enterprise?
Whatever car needs that much torque. I don't know. Incredible.
But I actually thought the fight sequence that followed was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't as good as, again, I keep harping on this. I think Justin Lin does a better job with, like, the hand-to-hand combat. But I still thought it was pretty decent. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Mm-hmm. It wasn't as good as when he had the guy from The Raid in it, but that's cheating because he had a guy from The Raid in it.
Yeah. You can't top that.
No, you can't top those guys.
So
Those
don't
guys
even
are-
try.
Which guy? Are you talking about Tony Jaa from this movie? Was he
No,
in the
Tony
raid?
Jaa was good in this,
He
but
was,
he didn't
yeah.
know how to use him as well as other guys have. Like, in part 6, they have one of the guys from The Raid. Not like one of the 2 main fighter guys who are in Star Wars and they got killed by a CGI ball from hell. But one of the third guys who dies in the first movie, he's in that one, and he's fucking awesome because he's
That guy.
one of those guys. If you haven't seen The Raid, fucking watch The Raid. It is awesome.
That is the after the hype endorsed, like, that is our movie.
Oh, yeah. Fucking love that movie. And The Raid 2. They're both fantastic.
We need those guys on. Come on, guys.
Yeah, come on over from Indonesia. It's a short flight.
Yeah, good rates.
Yeah. All right. So, is there anything else that we have not harped on enough in this movie, or should we move on to quotes?
Oh, I actually really enjoyed it was really short action scene, but the Tony Jaa Paul Walker scene where they do like parkour through the warehouse.
Yeah.
And then at the
yeah.
end, they slide down the stairs on a door.
On a
like
door.
6 flights of stairs with landings.
And it looks like, I mean, I don't know how they did that, if they actually had stuntmen do that, or if they're like dummies or whatnot, but it really looks like somebody was an inch away from dying.
Like every time they hit a landing and jumped up and there was like a ceiling coming down.
Yeah,
and
it looks like they're like an inch below that, like
yeah.
maybe an inch.
Oh, completely. Yeah. I thought that was really well done and exciting.
and
really exciting.
I mean, it's a classic like '90s action movie trope, but to throw like the bad guy's line at him as he dies, I
Yes.
really enjoyed that. Too slow.
Yeah.
And it really, like, I almost wish they had like a cut back to Paul Walker, like, whew, got it in there. Trey, was there anything else you wanted to bring up before we move into quotes in this?
I don't think so. I mean, I agree with you guys. Same thing. It was, it was. I didn't expect it to be anything other than like ridiculous, the unbelievable stunts and action sequences and whatnot when I saw it. So it was fun for that. Dumb story, but eye candy the whole
Yeah.
way through.
Yeah.
You don't go here for the story.
A whole lot of butt shots too. Like
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Fast
probably
and Furious
more than-
loves booty.
Yeah.
I mean, they have from the very beginning. It's just
Yeah,
like,
they
hey,
know their audience.
hey, girl, do you have a hot ass? Come down to the Fast and Furious show. The only one that really doesn't is 6. They only
I
have
get-
one butt sequence in 6.
Isn't it kind of the true
Good there.
true of the car underground scene anyway?
I
Like
kinda
they
think
actually
so.
have those girls in bikinis waving flags. I'm
Oh
sure.
yeah, totally. So
Yeah.
Well, there's
Or at least they
Abu
do it in the
Dhabi,
Need for
too.
Speed video games. So that's what I know about.
Yeah.
life.
Right. So true.
They had a lot of them at the party too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One of the buildings jumped out of.
Well, and just when they arrived in Abu Dhabi,
oh yeah, they really show off
Abu
Natalie's
Booty.
butt.
they were like in a plaza, women just walking around in bikinis.
I'm sure there's going to be a
Bikinis.
lot of disappointed tourists
Yeah.
after watching this movie. Where'd the booty?
I want to know what kind of bump they got to tourism after that movie.
Right.
Disappointed tourism.
Yeah.
I was expecting more butts.
It says
all
on
right.
your passport that you like butts.
I can't deny. All right, so let's move on to quotes. I'm gonna go first because my quote is really an implied quote.
Okay.
I'm gonna say the line that she says, but really I'm gonna say what she translated it and what she actually meant.
Okay.
So it takes place right after the Paul Walker bus scene. So he jumps up,
Yeah.
grabs onto the spoiler. She flips him. He rolls over and he's like on the ground dying. And Michelle Rodriguez stands up and looks at him and goes, "You good?" And really, what she's saying is, "Are you a pussy? Let's go." It's such a great little
Yeah.
moment. Like that little line made me laugh so hard. All right, next.
I'll go next. It's cheesy and it's the sentimental line of the movie where, as he wakes up, he's like, "Why didn't you tell me we were married?" And he's like, "You can't tell someone they love you." I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty sweet."
It's a sweet line.
It's a sweet line. That's kind of what it was. Sweet line. I should keep this.
Although he totally has told her that she loves him like
Right.
a fuckload.
Yeah. No.
He hasn't
no.
said like those quotes directly, but like the whole like, "We're together. I know every part of your body."
Right.
That was in 6, but
But yeah, no. I like the line. The line was fun and
yeah,
it was hilarious.
I approve.
You got one, Jeff?
Yeah, sure.
I
All
put
right.
like 6 of them in my notepad.
No, well, I wrote down 2. One was like the main cheesy, amazing action line, which is like, I forget what Michelle Rodriguez says to The Rock, but she's like, "Where is everybody?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I am the cavalry."
Yeah.
Oh,
Picks
bring
up
the
the minigun
cavalry.
and walks away.
I believe it's
Yeah.
"Woman, I am the
Yeah.
cavalry."
Woman, I am the cavalry. That's what it was. And then
Nice.
rips the minigun out of the drone. Shoots it in the face
Yeah.
first, rips it out, and then walks away. Yeah.
And then right after, not my quote, but right after that, they're like, "What happened to our drone?" I believe it just got double tapped.
Yeah, that
That's the thing.
Really
That
weirdly
what also
specific.
sold that was the guy's reaction before the drone got shot.
Right, he's like,
"Oh,
"Oh,
huh?"
I'm about
Like
to get shot in the face.
Like, can you know he actually shot your drone again after he dismantled it, or no? I don't think you know that from the control
I think he just
station.
assumed by looking at the Rock that he's gonna double tap it.
Right. He's
So-
like, "We're about to get
Or maybe he just
executed."
knows the inner workings of the drone can survive one bullet, but the
Ah.
second bullet's really what knocks it out.
They're
So he just
designed
knows
to
that the drone
withstand
works.
only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true.
My quote is also from The Rock. I grew up watching WWE wrestling, and I love it. So this brought me right back to my childhood watching The Rock when he's in the hospital, and he goes, "When I get out of here, I'm gonna put the hurt on this guy so bad he's gonna wish his mama kept her legs closed." I'm like, he totally wrote or improv that line himself.
Oh my goodness.
That'd actually be kind of an interesting discussion, just comparing because what after the end of the movie I was like, this feels like I can't judge wrestling because of watching this movie because they're all the soap opera
Yeah.
with action.
Oh, yeah.
Completely.
And it's like it'd be an interesting comparison because the bad guys always live. They just kind of
Yeah.
they locked away and it's like, I'm gonna hate you now. I'm
There's
a good
bunch
guy. I
of
was a bad guy, but I'm a good
twists
guy.
and turns.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
totally.
all come back to square one and then
Yeah.
kind of reset and play around.
It's always everybody, like, whatever gets everybody together is always the evil corporation, the boss man is like gets the heel in the face on the side. You know?
And they smacked like The Rock being in there made me that jarred that comparison because he gives all those lines like you said.
Oh yeah,
Everything he says in this movie is that.
yeah, exactly.
I half expected a microphone in his hand and he'd be like, "You know what?
Do you smell what the Rock is cooking?
That actually would have been pretty awesome.
I know.
Trey, you got a quote?
Yeah. What I was trying to say earlier about Vin Diesel's superpoweredness, the part when they're in that building, the butt party, when he picks up the car and Paul Walker's like, you got this, right? When he goes into the car. I thought that was pretty good because I didn't know he could lift cars. And the way he says it is kind of like, oh shit, you can lift that? You got Hulk powers? All right, cool.
There was kind of a hint of like trollishness too. It's like, you got this? I'm gonna wait an extra second before I go into the car.
I like that. Yeah. I'm like, dude,
he, like,
go
goes
as fast
in
as
and
you
then comes
can.
back out and- He like goes partly under the car and then comes back out and says, you got this, right? You know, like after he'd already get dressed. But, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that part was funny.
I think another honorable mention from Vin Diesel is when Jason Statham is like, "Oh, I thought this was gonna be a street fight," and he's like, "This is," and he pounds the street underneath his feet.
No, that was the thing about street fights. The street always
Or the
wins.
street always wins.
Oh,
yeah.
But then
Right.
when that line you were mentioning, he has the gun and he fires it off. I was like, okay, they're gonna fight. Yeah, they got it.
Yeah. Well, that was another.
That's what it is. The street always wins.
That was another example of the hero throwing the villain's line back in their
yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart
Leaning
smart
in.
movie.
Leaning in, as someone at this table said. Lean
Yeah.
in.
I bet you didn't see that coming.
No.
So the review system for today is going to be, I think, easy. We're going to find out.
7-part franchises.
That'd be-
I call Star Trek.
That would be tough.
So-
I'm going to do any movie that's somewhat related to cars.
Does the movie Cars count, Brian?
It sure does. I am going to attempt to go first. Ryan kind of stole my idea with it, but we're going to be all right. I said kind of. I'm going with Cars 2, which I know
Perfect.
I know it's a bad movie. I totally understand that it's a bad movie.
But the comparison works.
Yeah, but I think it kind of works in the way of like Cars really was like, it was a fine movie. It was fun, but it really, really kind of just wanted to be like, what if cars were people? And it didn't do anything else with the fact that cars are people. Whereas Cars 2 really went, what if cars are people? And they were awesome. And that's the entire movie. And like the story just goes out the window. And it's just like, what if they could fly? And what if they didn't give a shit about racing? What if they were spies? And that's the whole movie.
Daggone.
Yeah, and it's just completely ludicrous and terrible and whatever, but it's pure eye candy. And Furious 7 does a great job of just being like, well, what if these street racers were superheroes? And it's
And
just like,
it is so different from its first outing.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, wait a minute. How did you get from, like, if you were to not, without context, watching 1 and 7, you're like, how the hell did you get to this place?
yeah, exactly.
Because you've got 1, which is Point Break, and then you've got, like, all the action movies.
Yeah, it's just, the jump is completely insane. So the jump was much shorter from Cars 1 to Cars 2, but I think it's still kind of...
It probably took as many years to make.
all right, so that's mine.
Herbie fully loaded.
Right, that's one for sure.
If you actually want to use that, go for it.
The only reason that I could give is roughly the same reason that you can compare it to Cars 2, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Cars not having people in them, a la the parachute scene in Fast and the Furious, or Furious 7, sorry. That would be all I got, or I can come up with a different one.
No, that actually works.
Okay, I'll go with
yeah.
it. Did not cheap out at all.
And that was Herbie Fully Loaded.
Fully loaded.
Is that the one with
Lindsay
Lindsay Lohan? Yeah,
yes.
okay.
And written by Tom Lennon
Really? Tom Lennon wrote that?
and his writing
Brent
partner.
Grant.
Ben Grant, yeah.
Movies with cars.
Is it funny? Because I've never watched it because it was a Lindsay Lohan movie. But if they wrote it, I was slightly tempted to
No,
watch it.
they
never
know
seen it.
they know how to make the Hollywood sausage, so they write
Right.
scripts for a
Yeah.
living.
Right.
And they fund Reno 911 that way, or they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I won't watch it.
We talked about it a bunch of times. I will compare this movie to The Italian Job.
Okay.
Okay.
Neither of them are really about cars. I will give you that the Fast and the Furious franchise started out about cars and car
Yeah.
chases and car jumps and talking about car models and racing muscle cars versus street racers or whatever. But this movie was not about cars anymore. They were
No.
just the tool that got the characters to the end of the film.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Can you can you use a car movie that you'd like to relate to a future Fast and the Furious movie?
Sure, why not?
You can
All
do
right.
whatever you want.
Yeah, you can really do whatever you want. I'm not going to say no.
Well, when you said car movies, I'm like, okay, car movies. And I don't watch a whole lot of car movies. So the first two movies I think of are Maximum Overdrive and Christine.
Okay.
And,
Okay, interesting.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
can Fast 8 or Fast Last or whatever they want to call the next one, that one should be like the cars, become sentient and go against them. So they have to find skills beyond driving.
That would be amazing.
Movie.
Stop crashing us everywhere.
Oh, I should have said Transformers. Someone else can have that one.
Sure.
That works.
That was what Herbie was about too, wasn't it?
Yeah, the car is alive in Herbie.
Yeah.
Which doesn't creep anyone out
No.
at all.
Why?
I know, right? Be like, that car's alive. That's weird. And doing that voice too.
All right, John, you're last.
All right, I'm gonna go with Transporter 2
Okay.
because it leans into its action and it's got Jason Statham. It's a stretch, and he's got a car.
That's a Ryan James review system.
Patented, yeah. No, it's got a very similar level of silly action.
It does.
Yeah.
It has that hot chick who dies on a wall for some reason. She hits a wall just a
Again,
little too
silly,
hard.
and the logic maybe not exactly there. So like, there's a couple different layers you can put on it. So it's only partially a stretch.
It works.
It works.
I'll allow it. If I allowed Christine for reviewing a movie that wasn't even on the table, I guess I'm going to allow this one. Okay, so that brings today's episode to a close. Next week, we have our first battle of 2016, which is a battle of musicals. Which, if you want to be involved in that battle in the ways of, you watched all of them again before we did that, I'm going to let you know what's actually coming up. So we're reviewing or battling Little Shop of Horrors, South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and it counts as a musical, but I think it's one of the worst films ever fucking made, but somebody chose it, so we're going to deal with it. Repo the Genetic Opera.
How do you really feel about that
I
movie?
fucking hate that
She
movie.
changed from chorus line to Repo the Genetic Opera.
She did. She had Chorus Line, a classic, and went to Repo the Genetic Opera, which I think is the most insultingly bad film ever made.
Luckily,
I fucking hate it.
I have
but we
not
can
seen
talk
it.
about it. Oh, just you wait.
Oh, well, I won't watch it. No. If I have time, I will.
We watch all of them.
I
we
watch.
all watch all of them, I promise.
I definitely watch all of them to make sure conversations keep going, and sometimes it doesn't feel worth it. But anyhow,
You do suffer the most for your
with
art.
Repo, oh my god, I am so upset that I have to watch that fucking thing again. But I'll do it.
If you need a shoulder to cry on afterward, I understand.
Ugh.
Choose your wife.
We'll sit outside the room and wait for the movie to be over, and then you can cry on our shoulders.
All of my neighbors will hear it while I'm watching the movie. Fuck! God damn it! I hate this thing. Okay, so thank you to Trey for calling in.
No problem.
Thanks for Jeff for being on for the first time ever.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully we can have you guys back on again at some point here in the near to distant future.
That would be great.
And yeah, that's it. I got nothing else.
And goodbye.
Bye.